Hello and welcome to the first of the Mastermind semi-finals with me, Clive Myrie. In the spotlight tonight are Lucy Westall, a chef, her specialist subject, the short stories of Daphne du Maurier. Ian Wang, an auditor, he'll be answering questions on the films of Studio Ghibli, known for its acclaimed animations. Kit Lane, a graphic designer whose subject is the Scott Pilgrim series of graphic novels, and Ranveer Singh Kalair, a software engineer, his subject, Formula One from 2010 to the present. Wanted, brain boxes, 6 seriously smart people, in short, masterminds. Yes, we've reached the semi-final stage where the pressure, almost unbearable in the heats, gets turned up a few notches, with a place in the grandest of grand finals in the quizzing universe on the line, and the chance to be crowned the new Mastermind champion. Over the next few weeks, 24 contenders will be slugging it out. It could get a little messy. Nerves will be frayed. There may even be tears. So much is at stake. But throughout it all, civility and good humour will see us through. 2 minutes on a specialist subject and 2.5 minutes on general knowledge are the mountains to climb. So can I ask our first semi-finalist to join us, please? Your name?
Lucy Westall.
Your occupation?
Chef.
And your specialist subject?
The short stories of Daphne du Maurier.
The 20th century author, many of whose stories have been adapted into successful films in 2 minutes. Starting now, the title of which story is taken from its opening 3 words, spoken by a holidaymaker called John to his wife Laura over lunch.
Don't look now.
Yes, what's the first name of the violinist in The Doll, of whom the narrator says you would be fatal to any man?
Rebecca.
Yes. In Not After Midnight, the schoolmaster Timothy Gray is given an ancient Greek jug that depicts what mythical character?
Silenus.
Yes, the story Ganymede, about the narrator's obsession with a young waiter, is set mainly in which Italian city where the 2 characters first meet?
Venice.
Yes, when the hospital patient Marda West is wearing the blue lenses of the story's title, she perceives the surgeon as having the head of a terrier and tells him he ought to have what name?
Jack Russell.
Yes, in Split Second, while trying to prove her identity, the widow, Mrs. Ellis, visits a woman called Mrs. Drew and is surprised to see that her calendar is showing what year?
1952.
Yes, in The Alibi, the self-styled professional man, James Fenton, rents a basement room for a few hours a day, using what pseudonym?
Marcus Sims.
Yes, in The Birds, the lines, the wings folded suddenly to its body, it dropped like a stone, refer to the moment that the farmhand, Nat Hocken, is attacked by what large seabird?
A gannet.
Yes, what's the single-word title of the story set aboard a wartime merchant ship that begins with the line, there is nothing remarkable about the raven's wing, I can promise you that?
Escort.
Yes, in The Apple Tree, what nickname for the unnamed main character was given to him by his late wife, Midge?
Buzz.
Yes, in The Rendezvous, the first novel by the best-selling author Robert Scrivener about a prisoner of war has what 4-word title?
Fortune favours the brave.
Yes, in Adieu Sagesse, what's the name of the hometown of the bank manager Richard Ferguson that he describes as a dead city, worse than any visionary Pompeii, and from which he is desperate to escape?
Maltby.
Yes, in the story Indiscretion, the narrator has a fateful first meeting with an apparently troubled young woman in which London thoroughfare?
Wardour Street.
Yes, what's the name of the fictional European former principality, renowned for the magical health-giving properties of its waters, that's the setting for the story of the Archduchess?
Rhonda.
It is Rhonda. And Lucy, you had no passes, and at the end of that round, you've got 14 points.
Thank you.
And our next contender, please. Your name?
Ian Wang.
Your occupation?
Auditor.
And your specialist subject?
The films of Studio Ghibli.
The Japanese animation studio founded in 1985, whose work includes the Oscar-winning Spirited Away. In 2 minutes, starting now. In Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, human survival is threatened by a toxic swamp known as the Sea of what?
Decay.
Yes, when Kiki, the teenage witch, leaves the family home for a year of training, which of her father's belongings does she take with her?
Radio.
Yes, in Only Yesterday, Taiko goes to stay with relatives on their farm and helps them harvest which plant?
Safflower.
Yes, in Pompoko, a community of raccoon dogs use shape-shifting magic to battle against human developers who are building a new suburb of Tokyo. What's the name of this suburb?
Tama Newtown.
Yes, what's the name of the clubhouse that a group of high school students campaigned to save from demolition in From Up on Poppy Hill?
Latin Quarter.
Yes, in Spirited Away, Chihiro alights at what station when she travels by magical train to visit the witch Zeniba?
Swamp Bottom.
Yes, Jiro in The Wind Rises is inspired to become an aircraft designer after meeting which real-life Italian aeronautical engineer in a dream?
Caproni.
Yes, Count Giovanni Caproni. In My Neighbor Totoro, the sisters Satsuki and Mei move to a house in the country and discover a huge tree in the garden, which their father tells them is what species?
Camphor.
Yes, camphor tree. In Princess Mononoke, Ashitaka is a member of which tribe that was almost completely destroyed by the emperor 500 years earlier?
Emishi.
Yes, in the tale of the Princess Kaguya, what musical instrument does the princess play for Lord Akita at her naming ceremony?
Koto.
Yes, in My Neighbors, the Yamadas, what ingredient does Mrs. Yamada say causes forgetfulness when added to miso soup?
Ginger.
Yes, Howl's Moving Castle is a magical building with a door that can open onto different locations. What name is above the outside of the door when it opens in Port Haven?
Jenkins.
The Great Wizard Jenkins, yes. Shiro Nishi, the owner of the World Emporium shop in Whisper of the Heart, repairs an elaborate clock that features the name of which other Studio Ghibli film on its face?
Porco Rosso.
Yes, in Grave of the Fireflies, set during the Second World War, Seita and Setsuko's father was a naval officer on what Japanese ship?
Maya.
Yes, in Only Yesterday, Taiko reminisces about... I've started, so I'll finish. Reminisces about her performance in a school play in which she had one line playing what minor character?
Village Child A.
Yes, it is Village Child A. And Ian, you had no passes, and at the end of that round, you've got 15 points.
Thank you.
And our next contender, please. Your name?
Kit Lane.
Your occupation?
Graphic designer.
And your specialist subject?
Scott Pilgrim.
The series of 6 graphic novels written by Brian Lee O'Malley about a 20-something slacker and part-time musician. In 2 minutes, starting now. The events in the Scott Pilgrim books take place mainly in which Canadian city?
Toronto.
Yes, Scott starts dating Ramona Flowers, but discovers that in order to keep doing so, he has to defeat her 7 evil ex-partners. Who is the first ex he fights?
Matthew Patel.
Yes, when Scott first speaks to Ramona, he compliments her on her shoes, and later he draws a picture of them for his flatmate, Wallace, who says they are the shoes of which Mr. Men character?
Mr. Silly.
Yes, the film that Scott had returned to the video rental store 36 weeks late, claiming that mice had hidden it somewhere in his apartment, was the 4th installment in what series?
The Land Before Time.
Yes, what's the name of the band in which Scott plays bass alongside his friend Stephen Stills on guitar and vocals and Kim Pine on drums?
Sex Bob-omb.
Yes, Scott's sister Stacey and Stephen Stills' sometime girlfriend Julie Powers both work at a branch of what real-life coffee shop chain?
Second Cup.
Yes, in Scott Pilgrim and the Infinite Sadness, Lynette Guycott is described as someone who wants to blend into the war like an awesome what?
Ninja.
Yes, when chatting with Lynette, Todd, one of Ramona's evil exes, admits that he does not know the meaning of what word?
Incorrigible.
Yes, in Scott Pilgrim's Precious Little Life, Ramona offers Scott a choice of 17 different types of tea. What's the last tea on her list?
Sleepy Time.
No, it's Earl Grey. Roxanne Richter, the only woman among Ramona's 7 evil exes, tries to attack Scott twice, the second time in which vegetarian restaurant?
The Happy Avocado.
Yes, in Scott Pilgrim versus the Universe, Kim thinks the band are opening their set at Sneaky Dee's with the song Herself the Elf. But Scott and Stephen plan to start with what other song?
Erasmus the Enchanter.
Yes, what's the name of the Catholic high school in Northern Ontario which Scott attended before he moved to Toronto and where he first met Kim?
St. Joel's.
Yes, at the end of the final book in the series, Scott and Kim form a new group named Shatterband and perform a cover version of which song by the Monkees?
I'm a Believer.
Yes, in Scott Pilgrim versus the World, Ramona tells Scott that her initials are RV, with the V standing for what?
Victoria.
Yes, in Scott Pilgrim versus the World, Scott and his friends make a vegan shepherd's pie, the recipe for which includes what optional liquid ingredient?
Red wine.
It is red wine. And Kit, you had no passes, and at the end of that round, you've got 14 points.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And our final contender, please. Your name?
Ranveer Sinclair,
Your occupation?
software engineer.
And your specialist subject?
Formula One 2010 to present.
The period in Formula One that saw the emergence of Sebastian Vettel and then Lewis Hamilton as the sport's dominant drivers. In 2 minutes, starting now, what's the name of the cockpit protection device that was added to all cars for the 2018 season?
Halo.
Yes, which team was fined $100,000 for sending the radio message, "Fernando is faster than you," to one of its drivers during the 2010 German Grand Prix?
Ferrari.
Yes, what's the name of the FIA Formula One medical rescue coordinator who helped Romain Grosjean to escape from his burning car at the 2020 Bahrain Grand Prix?
Sid Watkins.
No, Dr. Ian Roberts. Jenson Button made a one-off return to Formula One in 2017 when he raced for McLaren at Monaco in place of Fernando Alonso, who was competing in what other race that weekend?
Indy 500.
Yes, the team that was established in 2010 as Virgin Racing and was then renamed Marussia was known by what name in 2016, its last season competing in Formula One?
Manor.
Yes, Manor Racing. What was the name of Sebastian Vettel's race engineer, nicknamed Rocky, during his 4 consecutive world title-winning seasons from 2010 to 2013?
Roquelan.
Yes, Guillaume Roquelan. What's the nationality of Esteban Ocon, who secured his maiden race win at the 2021 Hungarian Grand Prix?
French.
Yes, at which 2018 race did Lewis Hamilton qualify in pole position in a drive that he said felt like the most complete lap that I think I've ever done?
Singapore.
Yes, although he didn't score any points, which British driver was classified as finishing all 19 races in his debut season in 2013, racing for the Marussia team?
Max Chilton.
Yes, at the 2020 Sakhir Grand Prix, which driver achieved his first Formula One victory at the 190th attempt?
Sergio Perez.
Yes, what name derived from that of the stream that flows beneath it is given to the notorious downhill left-hand bend at Spa that leads onto Radion and the Kemmel Strait?
Eau Rouge.
Yes, in 2012, the late Ayrton Senna's nephew Bruno joined the Williams team as a replacement for which fellow Brazilian driver?
Rubens Barrichello.
Yes, in 2020, the fastest pit stop award was won by Red Bull at 15 of the 17 races by Williams in Belgium and which other team at Monza?
Ferrari.
No, Alfa Romeo at the Hungaroring in 2011. Which German driver escaped after start-to finish? Escaped unhurt after his car caught fire as it left the pit lane?
Nick Heidfeld.
It was Nick Heidfeld. And Ranveer, you had no passes, and at the end of that round, you've got 12 points.
Thank you.
And at the end of the specialist subjects round, let's have a look at the scores. In 4th place with 12 points, it's Ranveer. In joint 2nd place with 14 points, Lucy and Kit. And in 1st place with 15 points, it's Ian. So now, the general knowledge round. And if there's a tie at the end, then the number of passes is taken into account, and the person with the fewer passes is the winner. And if they're tied on passes as well, then it's a tie-break. So let's ask Ranveer to join us again, please. So, Ranveer, you start with 12 points. You've now got 2.5 minutes on general knowledge, starting now. The old-fashioned word thrice means how many times?
3.
Yes, in July 2021, what British organisation was awarded the George Cross on the 73rd anniversary of its foundation?
NHS.
Yes, an annual series of summer music concerts officially named after the conductor Henry Wood is known informally by what name?
Proms.
Yes, thiamine and niacin are alternative names for 2 vitamins identified by which letter of the alphabet?
B.
Yes, what 1852 novel by Harriet Beecher Stowe was inspired by the real-life story of a clergyman named Josiah Henson, who'd escaped slavery around 20 years earlier?
12 Years a Slave.
No, Uncle Tom's Cabin. In the Avengers films released between 2012 and 2019, which American actor plays the character Bruce Banner, also known as the Hulk?
Mark Ruffalo.
Yes, which Canadian province is bordered by the United States to the south, British Columbia to the west, and Saskatchewan to the east?
Manitoba.
No, Alberta. The Jamaican athlete Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price won a medal at 4 consecutive Olympic Games from 2008 to 2020. Over what sprint distance?
100 metres.
Yes, several months after it was taken from Westminster Abbey by 4 students in 1950, the symbol of Scottish monarchy, known as the Stone of Scone or Stone of Destiny, turned up in the abbey of which town northeast of Dundee?
Perth.
No, Arbroath. What name, often abbreviated to the letters JSA, is given to the unemployment benefit in the UK paid to people looking for work?
Job seekers allowance.
Yes. What adjective, meaning relating to a town or city, has been used as a papal name by 8 popes between the 3rd and 17th centuries?
Urban.
Yes. Which British composer wrote the 1986 opera The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat, but is better known for his many film scores, such as those for The Draftsman's Contract and The Piano?
Birtwistle.
No, Michael Nyman. What large rodent with long protective quills has a name derived from Latin words for pig and thorn?
Warthog.
No, Porcupine. Between 2007 and 2010, which American rock group had UK #1 albums entitled Because of the Times, Only by the Night and Come Around Sundown?
Kings of Leon.
Yes, a clause in the 5th Amendment of the US Constitution protects a defendant from being tried more than once for the same offence. What name is given to this principle?
Double jeopardy.
Yes, what nickname, on account of his cotton clothing, was given to the English pirate John Rackham, who operated in the waters around Cuba and the Bahamas in the early 18th century?
Gingham Joe.
No, Calico Jack, the name of what best-selling board game? I've started, so I'll finish. Board game is a term used in economics for a situation in which the supply of a service or commodity is controlled by an individual company or organisation.
Monopoly.
It is Monopoly. And Ranveer, you had no passes, and at the end of that round, you've got a total of 23 points.
Thank you.
And next up, let's have Lucy again. So, Lucy, you start with 14 points. The score to beat, as it stands, is 23 points. And you've now got 2.5 minutes on general knowledge, starting now. In a football or rugby match, what name is given to the break midway through the game when the players have a short rest?
Half-time.
Yes, the fictional town of Christminster in Thomas Hardy's Jude the Obscure is commonly believed to be a representation of which English university city?
Oxford.
Yes, which television sports presenter, the daughter of an international footballer, competed for Wales in rhythmic gymnastics at the 1990 Commonwealth Games?
Gabby Logan.
Yes, the bronze cast entitled The Burghers of Calais, commemorating the surrender of the port to King Edward III in the 14th century, was created in the 1880s by which French sculptor?
Rodin.
Yes. What word goes before waiter in a term for a small lift used to carry food and other items between different floors of a building?
Dumb.
Yes. Which author wrote the series of historical adventure novels featuring the characters Jack Aubrey and Stephen Maturin that began with the 1970 book Master and Commander?
Philippa Gregory.
Patrick O'Brien. The architect Sir Christopher Wren and the first governor of the Bank of England, Sir John Houblon, have each appeared on the reverse of which denomination of Bank of England note?
20.
No, £50. Which city was the national capital of Brazil until 1960 when it was replaced by Brasilia?
Rio de Janeiro.
Yes, which famous passenger train service ran from Paris to Constantinople for the first time in October 1883?
Orient Express.
Yes, what's the name of the magnesium-based alloy developed in the 1950s to be used as cladding for uranium fuel elements in British nuclear reactors?
Amalgam.
No, Magnox. At the 2021 Brit Awards, which Canadian singer whose UK hit singles include Earned It, Can't Feel My Face and Save Your Tears won the International Male Solo Artist category?
The Weeknd.
Yes, which species of whale found in the Arctic Ocean and nearby waters is sometimes called the white whale on account of its colour on reaching maturity?
Beluga.
Yes, what name derived from the Latin for salt is given to a solution of distilled water and sodium chloride, sometimes used in medicine and often administered by an intravenous drip to rehydrate a patient?
Saline.
Yes, which English king abdicated in 1399 after he was captured by the Earl of Northumberland's army at Conwy?
Richard II.
Yes, the actor Peter Fonda, who died in 2019, was perhaps best known for his role as Wyatt in the 1969 film Easy Rider, who directed the film and starred as his fellow biker, Billy.
Jack Nicholson.
No, Dennis Hopper, the highest peak in the Karakoram Range in Central Asia, was once known as Mount Godwin Austen after the British explorer and naturalist who surveyed it in the mid-19th century. What's the mountain's official name?
Everest.
No, K2. In the mid-20th century, the Democrat, I've started so I'll finish, Democrat politician Adlai Stevenson lost 2 successive US presidential elections to which Republican candidate?
Nixon.
No, it was Dwight D. Eisenhower. And Lucy, you had no passes, and at the end of that round, you've got a total of 25 points.
Thank you.
And next up, let's have Kit. So, Kit, you start with 14 points. The score to beat, as it stands, is 25 points. And you've now got 2.5 minutes of general knowledge questions, starting now. At the start of a game of snooker, the 15 red balls are arranged to form what geometric shape?
A triangle.
Yes. What word from the Latin for to burn is used for a building in which many funeral services are held?
Crematorium.
Yes. The name of what type of cured ham, typically served in very thin slices, comes from a Spanish word meaning from the mountains?
Iberico.
No, Serrano ham. In the 1941 children's novel My Friend Flicker by the American author Mary O'Hara, what type of animal is Flicker?
A dog.
No, it's a horse. I whistle a happy tune, Hello Young Lovers, and Something Wonderful are songs from what stage musical by Rodgers and Hammerstein?
Anything Goes.
No, The King and I, the United States Marine Corps War Memorial in Arlington, Virginia, is based on a Pulitzer Prize-winning photograph taken by Joe Rosenthal as 6 men raised an American flag on which Pacific island in 1945?
Iwo Jima.
Yes, the adjective cervine, spelt with a C, means relating to what mammal?
Deer.
Yes, which Friends actress went on to a successful film career with starring roles in comedies such as Bruce Almighty, Marley and Me, and Horrible Bosses?
Jennifer Aniston.
Yes, what's the name of the radar station on the North York Moors built in 1963, whose 3 giant white golf balls were replaced in 1992 by a 3-sided headless pyramid?
Dungeness.
No, RAF Fylingdales. In musical direction, a single letter F stands for forte, an instruction to play a piece loudly. What similar Italian word indicated by double F is used as an instruction to play a piece very loudly?
Fortissimo.
Yes, the imposing King David Hotel, designed by the Swiss architect Emile Vogt, was opened in 1931 in which Middle Eastern city?
Abu Dhabi.
No, Jerusalem. Which comedian and actor has starred in the television series Fresh Meat and Bad Education, as well as a documentary road trip series entitled Travels with My Father?
Jack Whitehall.
Yes, which former England rugby player is sometimes known by the nickname Chariots because of his running speed and a common mispronunciation of his surname?
Johnny Wilkinson.
No, Martin Offier. Which British guitarist and singer has been entered into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 3 times as a member of the bands Cream and the Yardbirds and as a solo performer?
Eric Clapton.
Yes, what 1968 film starring Charlton Heston as a stranded astronaut had several sequels and spin-offs, as well as a 2001 remake directed by Tim Burton?
Oh, Gravity.
No, Planet of the Apes. During the general strike of 1926, the Conservative government published a newspaper entitled the British Gazette, edited by which future Prime Minister?
Churchill.
Yes. Mikhail Mushkos, the religious leader and president of Cyprus, who was a prominent supporter of the post-war movement for union with Greece, was better known as Archbishop who?
Of Cyprus.
No, Archbishop Makarios. And Kit, you had no passes, and at the end of that round, you've now got a total of 23 points.
Thank you. Thanks.
And finally, let's have Ian again. So, Ian, you start with 15 points. The score to beat to get through to the Mastermind Grand Final is Lucy's 25 points. And you've got 2.5 minutes on general knowledge, starting now. How many degrees are there in a circle?
360.
Yes. Which European country is known in its own language as Hellas?
Greece.
Yes. Songs entitled Embarrassment, House of Fun and Driving in My Car were UK hit singles in the 1980s for which British ska pop group?
The Specials.
No, Madness, an archaic name for Sydenham's chorea, a disorder that causes involuntary movements of the arms, legs and face, is derived from the name of which saint, the patron saint of dancers?
St. Vitus.
Yes, St. Vitus. At the 2020 Olivier Awards, Sharon D. Clarke won the Best Actress category for her performance in an adaptation of which play by Arthur Miller?
Death of a Salesman.
Yes, during its orbit around the sun, which planet approaches closer to Earth than any other planet?
Venus.
Yes, the London postcode SW19 is often used as an informal name for which annual tennis championship is played there?
Wimbledon.
Yes, in which television comedy series first shown in 2005 does Ricky Gervais play a struggling actor called Andy Millman, opposite guest stars such as Kate Winslet and Samuel L. Jackson?
Extras.
Yes, which statesman succeeded Nikita Khrushchev as General Secretary of the Communist Party in the Soviet Union in 1964 and held the role until his death in 1982?
Andropov.
No, Leonid Brezhnev. What name from the Latin for empty or fasting is given to the section of the small intestine between the duodenum and the ileum?
The colon.
No, Jejunum. The first titles of the children's division of Penguin Books were published in 1940 to help wartime evacuees adjust to life in the countryside. The logo of these titles was a stylized depiction of what seabird?
Puffin?
Yes, at universities in the UK, the highest honours degree to be awarded is called First Class Honours. What name is given to the lowest class honours degree to be awarded?
Third?
Yes, an Israeli commando raid in 1976 carried out to free hostages held captive after their plane had been hijacked took place at the airport of which city in Uganda?
Entebbe?
Yes. What 1991 film stars Warren Beatty as the American mobster Benjamin Siegel, who was shot and killed at his girlfriend's home in 1947?
Bonnie and Clyde?
No, Bugsy. What alliterative name for a sleeveless shirt or jumper with a low neckline originates from a term for a bathing costume worn in swimming pools in the 1920s?
Tank top?
Yes, the chemical solution, sometimes called battery acid, used in a car battery, is a dilute form of what acid?
Hydrochloric?
No, sulfuric acid. What houseplant, noted for its bright red bracts and often given as a gift at Christmas, takes its common name from an American minister to Mexico who popularized it in the 19th century?
Cactus?
No, it was poinsettia.
Yeah.
And Ian, you've done it. You had no passes, and at the end of that round, you have a total of 26 points.
Thank you.
What a high-scoring programme. Let's have a look at the final scores. In joint third place with 23 points each, Kit and Ranveer. In second place with 25 points, Lucy. And in first place with 26, it's Ian, which means that he goes through to the grand final. Congratulations to him. If you would like to be a contender in the next series, please go to our website, bbc.co.uk/mastermind, and you can follow us, as ever, at Mastermind Quiz. Join us again next time for more Masterminds. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
I'm still shaking, to be honest. What an incredible match, and I was so impressed with the quality of all of them. I feel like any other day, you know, any one of them could have gone through.
When Kiki, the teenage witch, leaves the family home for a year of training, which of her father's belongings does she take with her?
Radio?
Yes.
Swamp Bottom?
Yes.
Village Child A?
Yes. And at the end of that round, you've got 15 points.
Thank you. I'll have to up my game, for sure. For the semis, I basically have this massive deck of about 600 different flashcards, so I don't know, maybe I'll have to do 1,000 for the last one.
You've done it. You had no passes, and at the end of that round, you have a total of 26 points.
Thank you. To be the youngest ever Mastermind champion would be incredible. I mean, watching Jonathan win last year, I feel like he was such an expressive force on the show, and yeah, obviously it would be great to kind of follow in his footsteps and take up that mantle. Jonathan, watch out, I'm coming for you.